This is one of the places where I like to introduce using the debugger. We haven't really used it up to this point. We're early in the class, but now it gets cool because you can sort of see what we're doing. So we're going to be working with the debug command today. Let's get a little bit more in here. At this point, we have a comment, a documentation comment saying that it's a bubble cert demonstration, and I've created my initial numbers 8675309. I hope the song went through your head when you heard that. Otherwise, I'm really old. Okay, so we can do a bunch of different ways to sort things in Python. If we just want to replace numbers, we can do numbers dot sort. We need the parentheses to say that it's a function, and we'll print numbers. And let's actually do that twice. So we're going to print the numbers before and after they go through the sort command. And I'm going to set a breakpoint here, and I'm going to run and debug. And that gives me some options. So it shows me which line I'm on. It shows me my special built-in variables. We're not worried about those. We don't have any globals. So I'm creating this variable here, but we really haven't done anything with it yet. I could continue. I could step over the next line, or I can step into the next line. This lets me debug line by line. And I can see that I now have this variable called numbers. And when I go into the next line, I sort the numbers. So sitting here, I have not run the line yet. Now I've run it. And you can see the value has changed. And so when I hit the printout, it will display down here the new order. So that's the sort command, and it actually changes the value of numbers. Now, if instead of doing numbers.sort, I'm going to comment that out, /, I'm going to do new order equals numbers dot sort equals sorted numbers. And this is the difference between a method and a function. And so here we have I don't want to say it wrong. One's a function, one's a method, and I always get it wrong because they're the same thing. It's just one belongs to the list options. It's really the difference are we doing sorted dot or sort dot and then we pass the numbers in, or new order equals sorted and we pass in this way. It's a little different, and it's hard for me to remember which is which. But if I print numbers here, and I'm going to do this as and I'm going to print And just for lulz, let's do this before I get into here. We'll print numbers the same way. Okay, again, I'm going to use this as my breakpoint. This is where I'm starting. I'm going to hit Run and Debug. And I'm going to step into it so I can watch it work one line at a time. So I've declared numbers 8675309. I've gone into new order equals sorted numbers. So now you're going to see I have two different lists here. And new order is sorted and numbers is not. And then I can print those all on the screen. So that's a real simple demonstration of using the built-in functions. I'm going to go ahead and leave those there and comment them out. Control/, Command/ if you're on a Mac. And now I'm going to work with actually creating the bubble sort. So I'm going to create my swapped flag. And notice I don't normally use capitals, but this is a keyword, and true and false as booleans are capitalized. And then while swapped, which is exactly the same as saying equals true. That's it, just how we say it in Python. We're going to change swapped to equal false, because we're just initializing it for our comparison. Then we're going to go into a for loop. So we're using our loops and our for statements, our while and for statements together. And it's going to be, we're using the range command, getting length of numbers minus 1, because we don't want to compare to something at the end and not have anything to compare. If numbers I, and that's our index, so we would start with 0 when we're stepping through it, it's greater than numbers I plus 1. And so that's adding to the index, so 0 compares to 1. It's not adding to the number in. Why am I getting that? Oh, yeah, I do need that here. Okay, so it's just anticipating. So if it's greater, we swap them. We say numbers I, and we could do this in more lines of code, but what's happening here is we're just changing this, comma, numbers I plus 1 equals, and here we're going to swap that order, so it's going to be numbers I plus 1. So numbers will now equal numbers I plus 1, and numbers I will be stored in numbers I plus 1. So that's swapping them. In some programming languages, we would need a third variable, a temp variable, to hold something as we swap them around. Python allows us to simply switch them by having this value equal this value, and then this value equal this value at the start of the line of code. Because even though we're trading this first, it gets it. It's swapping those values. And then we're going to set swapped equals to true. It's going to force us to go through the entire thing, but if we leave it, we leave the whole thing when swap becomes false and we've gone through the range. So let's watch going through the range. So let's run and debug. So we're going to step into it line by line. So we've got our numbers. We've set our swapped variable, our flag, as true. You can see it over here. Now we're entering our while loop, and we were able to enter it because swapped was true. If we hadn't set it to true, we wouldn't have gotten in here. So now swapped is false, and we're stepping into our for loop. Okay, I just want to be able to see everything. So now we're going to swap through it one item at a time. And now it's 6875309 instead of 86. Swapped is true. I equals 1. We started with y equal to 0. 678. And I'm just going to step through it, and you're going to watch it as we go through each index. Now we're back to 0 because swapped, because we need to keep going through this. We're going to hop out to the while. If it's true, it's going to bring us back here until everything is swapped. So let's walk through it. So you're watching you're watching the numbers change, you're watching swapped change. 3, 4, 5, 0. And it's going through all of them while I is staying at 0 until we can swap, and then we get false. This is just letting us proceed through this, and you're watching, and everything is, at that point, everything's in order. So it's interesting to watch them sort and see how the logic works. So that's the basic of the bubble sort. You could do the same thing with you could do the same thing with words, and you'll notice here if I just change the direction of it, I'm just going to run it this time. I'm not going to debug. So it would have been smart for me to print it out here. We just saw it happen in the run and debug. I changed the greater than to a less than. Think about how that one change is going to change my code. And then we get it in order from high to low because I changed it the direction of the greater than less than sign. And that's all you have to do to change them. Do you want low to high or high to low? That's how you do it. Okay, so that's your demonstration of the different sorting methods, including the bubble sort.